Welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
I was about to say that I don't really like this model. And then I figured, hey, we should start the show. And then I should say I don't like this model. Because...
Why don't you like it? It's Star Wars, Bob.
You're
not allowed to not like Star Wars.
Oh, yes, I am.
Only I'm not allowed to not like Star Wars.
It's snapped together.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a weak term in this case because very little actually snaps together.
Maybe this is why it was on sale.
Yeah, could be. See? No. Anyway.
So it snaps, it doesn't hold?
It doesn't hold, yeah. And I think once you get all the pieces in place, they'll probably snap and hold everything. But you're building up, and then I assume you put the top on. And so in the meantime, all the bottom stuff is
janky.
Just kind of hanging out. I don't know. We'll see. What are you working on?
I am finishing Hagrid's House.
Did you start that last time?
I did.
Why do I not remember that?
It's been a minute.
I don't know that we actually talked about you doing that.
We did a little bit because I was making fun of the silly
That's right.
bird horse. And then after we finished recording, Anthony came up to us, all very somber, and was like, I couldn't take it that you guys were making fun of Harry Potter with all the wrong names. So
That's not true.
Yeah, it's
I'm paraphrasing. Which means I'm just going to have to call everything by the wrong name now.
Oh, yeah, from now on. I think he said something to the effect of, like, now I know how you feel about Star Wars
right.
when I call things the wrong name. Something like that. Which, is understandable.
But Bob doesn't like Star Wars anymore, so everything is fair game.
Hey, now, wait a second. Speaking of Star Wars, I started listening to a new podcast that's all Star Wars
Not acceptable.
related. And I randomly found it. I don't even remember how I found it. I just happened to see the name. I was like, hey, I should give that one a shot. And it was just two people talking about, like, Star Wars news, which, really not that much Star Wars stuff happens week to week generally. But it was actually kind of like, I don't know, it was fine. It wasn't great.
Good,
But it was
good
but I have
background.
listened to Star Wars podcasts in the past, or very specific genre, not even genre, like property podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some Marvel ones and there's some this and that. And usually they're just so like push your glasses up, geek out that it's too much for even me. But this one was all right.
I like to geek out about certain
And it was
things.
called, I'm going to recommend it without actually saying the name. Let me look up the name. It's called The Resistance Broadcast, I think, is what it was
That's a
called.
clever name.
The Resistance Broadcast.
We should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. Anyway, go check it out if you're into Star Wars. This next one, they're going to talk about who they think will appear in the ObiWan Kenobi series.
Ben Kenobi
No.
may make an appearance.
No, this one's about his cousin, Larry Kenobi. We talked about this already.
I wonder if he's somewhere and he's just hanging out, like, drinking some Jedi tea on Tatooine. And he's like, people are going to know who I am. I need to have an alter ego. And then he just, like, puts down the glass of tea and picks up a glass of some other kind of drink and was like, my name is Ben now. And I'm right-handed.
I'm right-handed.
Because he wears the same clothes. He ages. He doesn't shave his beard.
He moves his watch from his left arm to his
Yeah,
right
he's
arm.
like, they'll never know.
Yeah. Pulls a full Clark Kent. I'll put on these glasses.
But he is a Jedi.
Are you looking forward to that show?
The Kenobi show?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. Ewan McGregor's coming back, so that's kind of good.
Yeah.
I assume that they're just going to fill in kind of the gap between A New Hope. Or no, between, I guess, what came before A New Hope.
Yeah. It's episode
His
3 and
exile.
4. Yeah, it's, I think, 8 years after Revenge of the Sith is the target. So, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about it just because he's coming back, but at the same time, that particular period of him doesn't seem that interesting. But, I mean, I'm sure they'll come up with something to make it
Right.
interesting, but, like, we don't know anything about it, right?
I wonder what kind of side missions, because he's pretty much on like a Secret Service detail,
Pretty much.
where he just hangs out.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he's constantly just like defeating waves of people that know that Luke is there. And he's just so tired by the time that he gets to Vader. He's like, you know what? I'm done fighting all you people. I'm going to put in as little effort as I can because I know I'm finally going to be one with the Force. Because every episode, like a new stranger, like on
So he's like the Michael Knight of Star Wars, where he's just always there to like fight off the current bad. But he's not really good in and of his, he's not like going out to.
But I imagine it would, in my silly head, I want it to be like a Gilligan's Island type thing where like, oh man, the Harlem Globetrotters showed up. And like every episode, he's got to solve some kind of crime. Like Scooby-Doo, but
that
he's
would be
Obi-Wan.
awesome. Yeah, if the mystery machine just pulls up on Tatooine and oh man, that'd be great. So I saw one thing saying that the show might be around not necessarily protecting Luke from people who know who Luke is, but protecting him from the environment around him. So like the Sand People, like there could be a whole Sand People war or invasion or something like that, to where he has to step in and
because Luke knew of Sand People, he just didn't seem all that prepared. He seemed very cautious.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like he had any experience with them. So yeah, I think the idea was that Obi-Wan would be kind of protecting him from the shadows, from the stuff that's already around him. Like I don't think anybody knows that Luke is there other than the people that put him there. I don't know. We will find out, I suppose. But that's like 10 years away from now or something. So
after we all have to get Disney Plus.
Are you gonna get it?
Probably. I heard that Netflix was trying to drop The Office, and honest,
they're trying to drop it,
or that they were eventually going to, like it was going to go away. Maybe not that they're going to drop it. I think that would probably be the worst thing for them. That's 75% of the reason that I have Netflix. Because I mean, some of the Netflix original stuff is fine, but if I wouldn't have known it existed before or without Netflix, I probably would have been just fine as a human being.
Yeah.
But I love The Office. I love it all the time. And I've got some of the seasons on DVD. But it's really easy to go like, man, I'm super tired. Had a crazy day. All I want to do is sit back and let silly Michael Scott make inappropriate comments about things. Completely just daft about what he's doing. And it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, it makes me laugh again. Listening to Creed Bratton. It honestly, like I've heard all of Creed Bratton's little one-liners, and I laugh every single time because it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
I was watching one the other day where Dwight was messing with Andy, and he was wearing a Cornell sweater, and Andy was getting all mad because he went to that school, and they were talking back and forth, and Creed comes back, and he's like, "It's pronounced Colonel, and it's the highest rank in the military." It's like, this is stupid. It's so dumb.
That's awesome. Anyway, cool. Well, what else is going on?
Still going to CrossFit. That's a thing. I went this morning and I'm super tired.
Yeah.
I went one other time this week. Your wife was in a class this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she woke me up she didn't try to wake me up, but she woke me up at early o'clock today on the way out to go to the gym.
Shocker, she's the funny gal in class.
That's not surprising.
Yep. She was having everybody cracking up. It was good. I had a person laugh or two, which kind of made me want to be there a little bit more.
Oh, yeah?
Because we were doing this thing where, I just tried to replicate it.
Where I went like, ow!
My body revolted. We were doing these things. We were doing like arms and chests and whatever. And man, my arms were dying. And this guy was like, "You gotta bring those arms up a little bit more." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Sure, that sounds great." And then, like when we got done, we were standing around, and I went to go like wipe the bead of sweat off my forehead, and I'd like raising my arm up to do that. It was like, nope. And he kind of looked at me and was like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just tried to do, like a thing that anybody can do." But I'm just let gravity take care of that one and just kind of shake my head. I'll let my arms sit this one out with wiping sweat from my brow.
They deserve the rest.
They've done a lot today.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's pretty good. We finished up a project at my house, so we're back now in the air conditioning. Ooh. We've been outside sweating like crazy for the last week.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did that at your house. I'm glad that you have that. But man, I am really glad to not be there anymore.
It was so hot.
Has nothing to do with your house, but it was insanely hot outside. Hotter than it actually was, which doesn't make any sense. But it felt way hotter than 80 whatever it was.
Well, we made like
Ugh.
a gigantic, was those like little sunbathing shields that like people in the 60s used to sit beside the
That's
pool and
true.
like get their under chin. We made a huge one of those.
Under chin.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
So whatever heat that was there was magnified 20 times
It was pretty
just by the nature of the project that people will see eventually. Maybe next week. I think it's on schedule for next
I
week.
think it is for next week. We'll see.
It's a Lowe's project, so I was doing all the stuff. And I figured out, I streamlined the way that we do all of the links and analytics and all the things to make my life a little easier. Because that process is lengthy. That's wrong.
Yeah, so we're finally back in the air conditioning, which is nice. I'm not sure what we have coming up. It's some interesting stuff. Oh, the one that we're going to do in October for Halloween. That's going to be fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, excited about that.
I'm glad when a company reciprocates our excitement for something silly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool. But we can't say anything about it, so we should talk about something else. What else has been going on? Oh, you told me a funny story at lunch.
You want to talk about the thing that we talked about?
I don't want to talk about my part of it necessarily, but I think
We're going to talk about maybe some ways that other people could approach it. Not
okay.
Like reciting what happened.
Right. Yeah. Well, you start with yours because yours is funnier.
Well, naturally. So, my son is 9, my oldest son. And they go to a little church function on Wednesday where it's like a kind of kids group and they're split up into like boys groups and girls groups and they do a little Bible study and things. And my wife and I go out and have a little date. Well, we get back from the thing and my son, I pick him up in the van and he's like, Dad, he's like, can we just like have like a talk down in my room tonight? I'm like, okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, oh yeah, this could be anything. Cause I mean, they're homeschool kids. They're not around as many kids and the huge range of like public school kid emotions. So I was like, well, I don't know what could have happened. So sure, I was like, do you just want to talk about it now? He's like, no, it's fine. He's like, I just want to talk to you like down in my room later. I'm like, all right, fine. So I go down there and my son is very theatric. He reads a lot of books and he's reading a lot of Diary of the Wimpy Kid and his book's called Big Nate. I don't know anything about Big Nate.
I've not heard of that one.
Yeah. But they're like middle schooly hijinks, kind of silly books. They made some movies about the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So this is his introduction to like public school life and to the world outside of like the homeschool community and probably the 20 to 25 kids that he sees on a weekly basis rather than the hundreds that you would normally see at public school. So we get down there and he's like, so my friends and I, we were running around and there's these girls over at this table and my friend goes and runs over to the girls and then they laugh and he runs back and he's like, I got to get with one of those girls. And he's like, I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, like we want them to like us. I was like, you want the girls to like you just like because you should all be friends because it's a church group and everybody should be cordial?
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, and he's like, well, there's this girl named Jenny. I'm like, uh-huh. And I like her. I'm like, uh-huh. Why? And so it's not like I'm trying to just be, I want him to be able to talk to me about anything. And so I want to ask a lot of questions because it, like we've talked about before, it will curb the advice or what I have to say to him if he can just kind of say it all himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why do you want this girl to like you? It's like, well, because she's pretty. I'm like, mm-hmm. It's like, and I just, want to hang out with her. I'm like, okay, why? He's like, I don't know, it's just because it's fun, because like boys like hang out with girls. I'm like, uh-huh, why? And I keep going down this line hoping that he's not going to say like something about sex. He's 9, like I don't know where this is going. But eventually he was like, how like people grow up, and I'm like, yes. He's like, and then like get married and stuff. I'm like, oh boy, okay. I'm glad you kind of went that way, but walk it back.
Yeah.
And so it pretty much became not a sex talk because he like, it didn't go down that route. The idea of like being married or holding hands or so, he was like, ugh, no. We had a very stern conversation about like when he was talking about his friends and trying to like, they were going after, I think was the term that he used. I'm like, well, first off, like you don't go after a girl. It's a conversation. You don't win a girl. It's not a just like Jasmine. She's no prize to be won. Like it's a friendship kind of thing. And so we got that out of the way, and then we're like, well, I don't know exactly where you're going with this friendship, but it's not that like you're not going to be touching people, right? Your hands are yours, your body is yours. You're not going to be touching people, just like you don't fight in the same way. You don't need to be like kissing or like hugging on people. He was like, ugh, no. I'm like, okay, good. This is our baseline.
Yeah.
And so then it just became like how to talk to chicks with my 9-year-old. It was so weird, but kind of like fun and innocent because he just thinks a girl is pretty and wants her to hang out with him. And I'm like, well, that seems innocent enough.
I'm curious if how much of that was his idea and how much of it was like he saw other people, his age acting a certain way or saying, or maybe a little bit older, saying stuff and was like, oh, I should probably do that too. Like, yeah. She's pretty, I guess.
Well, I asked him because he said something like in passing about boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm like, okay, where did you hear about boyfriends and girlfriends? He's like, well, this character in Big Nate, like he always tries to impress these girls, so they'll be his girlfriend. I'm like, uh-huh. And I guess his friends, I mean, they're budding preteens, or I don't know. But I'm like, well, let's talk about boyfriend and girlfriend first. So I don't know how you guys feel about your kids. I mean, your oldest son is in the 6th grade, right? Mm-hmm. About having boyfriends and girlfriends. But I asked him, like, well, what is the benefit of being someone's boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, why would you do that? He's like, so we could, like, hang out and go to movies and, like, all the things that you see in movies and TV. You go on dates and things. I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, but that's, like, a commitment that could eventually lead to things down the road. I'm like, how about you try to be her friend first? Because if you're going to commit to being somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend and you find out that they, like, hate everything that you like and think all the things that you enjoy are dumb, like, why would you want to be somebody's boyfriend if you don't want to be their actual friend first? And that seemed to get through to him. Like, that was logic that I just placed on my 9-year-old. He was like, yeah, like, I agree with that. I was like, whoa, this is working. And then it became like, well, does she know your name? He's like, I don't think she does. I was like, well, that's step one. If you just want to be anybody's friend. It didn't, I say it became like how to talk to chicks, but like it just became a how do you become anybody's friend in a friendly way. And if it just happens to be a girl that you think is pretty, then fine. But your goal is to be someone's friend.
Right.
And
which is a really important distinction. I mean, at that age, because they hear boyfriend, girlfriend, and then they think it's a thing they need to do, but yeah, that's definitely down the road. I mean, obviously age-wise, but even just being able to relate to someone that's far down the road.
Well, I remember like my first introduction to that was in the 5th grade. There was a girl who was blonde and cute, and one of my friends was like, "Oh man, she broke up with so and so," and I didn't know what any of that meant. I didn't really care. All I knew was stuff from TV and movies, kind of I guess what my son is relating to. And they're like, "You should ask her out." I'm like, well, "I don't really have any money." And they're like, "Why does that matter?" I'm like, "Because you need money to like go on dates and sock hops and things. Hops. I don't know.
Take them to the drive-in.
Go buy malted milkshakes. That's what they do in the movies." And they're like, "No, dummy, you're just like her boyfriend." And I never understood the value in that. Even though I was like a 5th grade, I'm like, what does that mean? So I just walk around next to her. I'm like, that's dumb. And so I was trying to put myself in his shoes because he would hear these terms like boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm like, okay, first off, what does that even mean and why do you even want to do it? Because at this age, like, it's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like you're making a commitment to somebody that you might not even like. Like, and there's no value in that. And so it became like, well, how do you talk to people? And then it was funny. He kept going back to this book, and he was like, all right, I got to impress her. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, I can like make some stuff, or I can like, these guys were talking about dancing, so like maybe I can go like dance. I'm like, yo, you need to walk that back.
No, you got to encourage them. Oh. Yeah, man, dance.
No. I was like, you need to be cool. That's what you need to do. Your friends are over there being clowns and joking and being all silly. I'm like, girls that you want to be your friend will see through that and think that that is dumb. And if a girl is impressed by that, you don't want none of that. You don't want, trust me, that's only going to lead to just money being spent on dumb things, or you're going to have to keep up this silly clown charade, nothing but work. The girl's probably loud as a human being. You don't want any of that. Walk it back. Like, so just be cool. And we kept going back to, like, does she know your name and how to introduce yourself? So it eventually became like, I'm in my son's room and I'm sitting in his chair and I'm like, let's practice. Introduce yourself. I'll be what's her name? I'll be Jenny. And my son, I've never looked at my son and go like, you are a handsome kid. Your heart is just like full of sincere just love, and you're just this innocent little creature that is walking into something that is completely new to him. And while he's trying to pretend pick me up at church club, it was so funny because I was being real candid with him. We were kind of laughing at some things, and so he's preparing himself to like introduce himself to this girl fictitiously that I am playing. And so he like takes a deep breath and like shakes his hands out. I'm like, don't do that. That's creepy. Girls don't like that. And he's like, I'm not ready yet. I'll do that somewhere else. And then he walks up and, hello, Jenny, how are you? You know, my name is Deacon. He's like, I just wanted to say hi, because that was what I told him. I'm like, that's your goal, is to get her to know your name and just to say hello in a non-creepy or threatening way. And he kind of did it the first time, and he was looking all around and kind of shuffling. I'm like, man, you got to be confident. You got to look me in the face. And he's like, ugh. And so he went back and did it again. And so he like executed it perfectly the second time. And then he sticks his hand out like he wants to shake my hand. And just the most sincere, like, pleased to make your acquaintance kind of way. And I'm like, bro, put your hand down. You don't need to shake a girl's hand. And he's like, oh. I was like, you're not at a job interview. Like, put your hand down. And then the second time he came back and like waved all silly. I'm like, how far away are you standing from this person where you need to wave? I just wanted you to know my name. And he was trying so hard. And I love this kid. And I'm like, this is one of those chances where, what is your goal? Your goal is to be somebody's friend. We're reiterating that many times over. First step in being somebody's friend, introduce yourself in a non-creepy, non-threatening, non-just silly way. And he did it, and then I, pretending to be the girl, was like, ew, and ran away. And he's like, I caught him off guard, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you got to be prepared for that. Because you could come up with the most sincere motives and just want to say hello, and a girl will just like giggle or ignore you and walk away. Yeah. I was like, you didn't do anything wrong. Girls are weird. You don't know what's going on in their head. But you didn't fail. It's nothing against you. You're not a bad person. You're not an ugly kid. You're not any of those things. You just have to be prepared for someone not reciprocating, that conversation or those feelings back. And so it was a lot of like, be prepared for rejection. Not that you're going to be. Yeah. But you didn't do anything wrong if people don't want to be your friend. I was like, because that just indicates that you kind of nipped it in the bud. Like, you don't have to spend a whole lot of energy just to try to figure out if somebody wants to talk to you. Quick and easy way. I was like, and if she says hello, then just, you're done. That's it. Turn around and walk around, or have a legit conversation. I was like, and then next time you meet her, like, oh, hey, Jenny, how's it going? And that's it. Like, just be cool. Man.
Be cool, man.
Just be cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so it was a probably 45-minute conversation that, again, I had to try to reiterate, like, what are your motives? If it's pure and just you want to be somebody's friend because you think they're cute, like he has a crush, like that's fine. Yeah. But be somebody's friend before you ever think anything further romantically, any of that stuff, because that person could be a real dum-dum and hate all the stuff you like, and then you're kind of locked in.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's funny, man.
Yeah, and then I went down and woke him up this morning, and he woke up. He's like, Dad, I practiced one more time. Man, you're taking this serious. He goes to piano practice and has school and all these things. I've never seen him like study or practice or take something as, to heart as just being cool and talking to a girl.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to hear like a report from him. You know,
Yeah, I'm interested.
I tried it. You know, this is how it turned out, or whatever.
Yep.
Could be devastating for him too. You know, unfortunately, I mean that's just part of growing up is having encounters like that and getting laughed at or getting. I mean, maybe it won't, but
I have no idea.
that happens.
I was in kindergarten. There was this girl in our class. It was the same way. I mean, I don't remember her name. But I thought she was cute, and I'm like, I want that girl to be my friend because I think she's cute and fun, and maybe I don't really know. And for some reason, there was like this box of like cheap jewelry that we had. My mom got at a flea market or somewhere, and I found this ring. I'm like, dope. I'll give that girl this ring, and then she'll think that I'm nice because I gave her something, and then we can be friends. And she took it and she looked at it and she threw it in the grass and just like walked off with her friend. And I was like, ooh,
Girls are terrible.
heartbreak. I'm like, wow, that's what that feels like.
Huh.
And like, it's not something that well, that sounded like you broke it. Okay, that's
snapped
good.
in
That's the
place.
snap. And I told him about that as like an example of just innocent rejection. I'm like, a girl's not mean.
Yeah.
I don't think about it. It was a thing that happened that I wasn't prepared for. So just be prepared for your heart to get stomped and thrown on the ground
No big deal.
in the middle of the fellowship hall at the church.
And the place that you see is a safe place, you know.
Oh, and even more, speaking of the church, and so he's talking about his friends and going to talk to these girls. I'm like, what are you guys doing at church group? I was like, you guys talk about the Bible? He's like, we do sometimes. I'm like, what do you mean you do sometimes? He's like, well, we talk about video games and a bunch of other stuff. And then we were talking about how you have your feelings that should be reciprocal. And I'm like, you want to treat other people the way that you would hope to be treated. I'm like, and who said that, kid who just got back from Bible group? And he's like, that's the golden rule. I'm like, very good. Bonus question. Who said the golden rule? And he looks at me and he's like, oh man. He knows this. And he goes, the king of the golden kingdom? I'm like, what?
That's so good.
You are not going to church group anymore.
That's excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
Get half credit, I suppose, just because you made me laugh. But
Yeah.
then you're not there to pick up chicks. You're not there to talk about video games. But your son got asked out. By a girl, right?
Yeah, I don't even know exactly how all that happened. But yeah, somebody asked him out, and he really didn't. He's 11. He didn't really know what to do with it, you know? I mean, he's had girls that he thinks are cute and stuff and in the past, and he's told us about these girls, only like 2, I think, throughout his life so far. But, like this one's really smart. She likes dinosaurs too.
Oh, man.
Like we're into the same stuff, and you can totally see it. This other one was real emo and liked poetry, and she was just kind of, I think, the odd girl, and he's also kind of the odd boy around a lot of people. So he doesn't feel that, but we can see it, And so I think he sees kinship with those 2 girls, or has in the past. So, but yeah, this whole thing where he got asked out, I don't know. There's apparently in middle school there's a couple of girls who have decided that they will be his, that he will be theirs. That he will be theirs. And so they're after him, and he's kind of oblivious to it.
It's kind of the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to have a conversation with these ladies about men are not prizes to be won.
That's right.
Ladies.
Yeah, give it a year, and it'll probably flip around.
I know it's 2019, man.
Well, I mean,
it's not the same.
Him not getting it, and will flip around into girl crazy little boy. Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole weird thing, man.
Well, one thing that I thought was interesting is that I remember when your wife came down and was talking about it, she had this stern mama bear, kind of like, you better back up off my baby.
Yeah.
Kind of look. And when my son asked me to go down and have a talk with him, I came up and my wife was sitting on the couch. She was like, what was that about? Because it could have been maybe he was bullied, maybe he was in trouble, maybe it could have been anything. I'm like, it's nothing. I was like, maybe he said it to me in confidence. It's not a big deal. She was like, you will tell me what you talked about. It was about a girl. And she had that exact same look that Jenny had.
Yep.
That girl better back up off my baby.
I will smack that little girl.
And I was like, whoa, calm down. Hold on.
Yeah. It's funny because Jenny has this, playful but really consistent reaction to that type of stuff in front of our kids. So like anytime we're watching a show and people kiss or they hold hands or there's some sort of a thing, my wife will jokingly go like, ugh, gross. And so now my kids all do that. And they know that that's the reaction that they are, air quotes, supposed to have to that stuff. And so she gets kind of grossed out because she knows that it's transferring to that like kissy stuff and whatever you see on TV is getting transferred to the kids. So she reacts to it and she overreacts to it, and it's funny.
To try to implement that.
Yeah, but it's kind of backfiring because now they just think it's gross, like when we kiss or when it'll play out. Like they'll understand soon enough. But it's funny because she, in trying to show them that they should push that off and not be interested in that, she's almost kind of putting a negative spin on it. Not meaning to, but it's just one of those funny byproducts of, we don't want them to think that like relationships are bad or kissing or any of the other stuff down the road is bad, but it has its time.
It's
it
appropriate.
Has its place, right? And so that's getting that part across is probably our next stage. Like, when mommy fake gags when she sees people kiss on TV, it's not really that bad.
She's not revolted by me. She likes me.
But
as a kid, that was like more than a weird like attraction. Like my parents had a super loving relationship, and they were really good role models for like a husband and a wife relationship, as much as I knew, right, as a kid.
Yeah.
And so anytime I would have like a romantic feeling or whatever, it was eventually like, okay, yeah, I could totally marry that girl. It went to that extreme because I saw my parents, like my mom would walk in the door, my mom and dad would kiss. And I think it might have been like, ew, yuck, but it was like, wow, look at the relationship that those two guys have. Like, that's cool.
Right.
I want to have that one day.
Right. So you could, you see that as the end goal.
Yeah. And so like this steady girlfriend I had in high school before my wife and I started dating, she was kind of the worst.
I might have dated her too.
Man. But at the same time, it was like, well, I guess this is kind of what I get. Like, I can see this maybe in the long term. And then the relationship started to go downhill. And I had really good friends that were like, you don't want any part of that because she's just mean. Like, and she's kind of the worst and we hate her. And then I was really glad I had that weird spot up front. And then I started dating Tiffany. And immediately it was like, well, you're really cool. You're really pretty. And I could honestly like see myself marrying you. And it seems really strange, but maybe, I don't know, as an outsider to like a high school kid who may just be thinking with hormones. But I always kind of wanted to emulate what I saw as my parents' success.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like I remember specifically being in 5th or 6th grade. It was somewhere, I think it was 5th grade maybe. And having an evening one time where I was like thinking somewhere by myself and was like, I can't wait to have kids. I can't wait to be a dad. And it was such a weird thought for somebody at that age, but it wasn't like there was no motive behind it. It's like, I can't wait to have kids so I can buy more Legos. It wasn't something like that. It was like, this is a thing that looks really awesome, and I look forward to that. So from then on through my entire life, like, I didn't want to get married for the sake of being married. I didn't want to have kids for the sake of having kids, but that was always like I cannot wait to have those things. And I've probably told you how Jenny and I met and all that stuff, but I was engaged to a different girl before Jenny. We dated for like 3 years. We were engaged for 6 months or so or something. I don't remember. And we called it off, and I met Jenny 2 days later. And then 2 weeks after that, I said, look, if this is going to go on, we're going to get married. And then we were married just over a year after that.
Nice.
So it was the same feeling where like, oh, all of the things that have gone before this, I now see why they were wrong. This one, I could see this totally being the right thing based on past experience and based on it not being what any of those were. So like, if we're going to do it, let's do it, let's go that direction. And it was really a kind of make or break conversation where I was like, this is not worth doing unless that's where we're headed. She was like, I totally agree with you.
It's weird when you start to think, it's going to sound bad, honey, I love you. But like, it's an investment.
It is, yeah.
And I tried to
Especially-
communicate that to Deacon. I'm like, you need to know as early as you can that you are compatible or that you even like this person before you try to be involved in anything more than that. Like, and that's from experience, and that's from, man, there are so many of our family members that have talked to Tiffany or I personally that are like, you guys just like each other. And I'm like, yeah. Like, it seems stupid to be somebody or be with somebody for your whole life that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I guess that is a common thing that people get married or they feel like they're stuck for whatever reason. Before I ever told my wife that I loved her, and I made a conscious effort like not to say those words because I felt like I didn't know what it meant because I told my old girlfriend that, and even though I really just like hated her face most of the time. Side note, I flicked a huge wad of Frosted Flakes at my girlfriend one time in the lunchroom in front of everybody because she was just nipping at me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I think we still stayed together for a couple months after that.
Really?
Because I didn't know any better.
Wow.
But it informed my decisions from then on out. I'm like, okay, what you did before was dumb, was driven by like hormones and things. I was like, dating sucks. And I feel bad for people that have to date. Because looking at people now that have gotten divorced that we know that are trying to, date again, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. And when my wife showed the least bit interest, I was like, you got to be cool about this.
Be cool, man.
Because this is an investment opportunity that's going to take you to the moon.
Yeah.
And you need to not screw it up. So just be cool.
What did you do differently? How were you cool with her that you were not with other people before her? Anything like notable?
No, I didn't try to impress her. Because I had known, man, I met my wife in like the 7th grade. And she was dating my best friend at the time. I'm like, man, that girl's pretty. I'm like, well, she's dating that guy. And I mean, I don't really understand why people have boyfriend and girlfriend. I had a couple, and I'm like, you just like talk on the phone, or she talks at you on the phone for a couple hours when I really wish I was playing video games. Yeah. I'm like, this is kind of dumb. And by the time we had started dating, it was our senior year, and I wasn't trying to get with her or that kind of thing. Right. I wasn't actively trying to pursue her. It just kind of happened, and I was cool about it. And I still have it, but like when I asked her, I wrote her a note. This is, will you go out with me because I'm a big dork? And it totally worked.
Did it say because I'm a big dork in it?
I think so. I have it somewhere. It's chronicled.
Awesome.
But she was an extremely rational and just easygoing person. There wasn't a whole bunch of drama, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm filling out this checklist of things. And when we first started hanging out, like I worked in a snow cone shop, just like I remember you did too. Mm-hmm. And she was a camp counselor at the YMCA, and they ordered this, like we would bring a bunch of snow cones to a birthday party kind of thing, and showed up and did the thing. And I loved kids. And I was like, can I hang out and just like play with all these kids? Because we play like dodgeball and stuff. And I was a teenager, and the lady who ran the thing thought I was just the nicest person in the whole wide world, and I could come over whenever I wanted to. And so I would kind of like hang out with Tiffany every once in a while, but I would just go play with the kids. And then she saw that I was not a creep. I was not a super weirdo. I was really good with kids. I genuinely cared about people and liked to have just a solid good time. And then whenever we would talk, and I'm like, well, maybe let's go do something, go to a movie or whatever. I'm like, if not, it's no big deal. It's like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And so I think in between old girlfriend and new girlfriend, current wife, there was you need to dial that crap back.
Right.
Because it's way too much work to keep up with some naggy thing that doesn't like me for me. So just be cool. Mm-hmm. And it worked.
I guess similarly, I did, without meaning to, the girl that I dated before Jenny, I ended up changing a lot of myself for. And it wasn't really for her as much as it was for her family. But I found myself over the course of that 3 years kind of morphing into what I thought was going to make them respect me. More than, it's not that they didn't like me, but it's a long story. But basically, I just made a bunch of micro adjustments away from who I really was. And so by the time I got out of that, I was like, ugh, okay, I got to reset.
Yep.
And part of meeting Jenny was like, look, this is it. Like, if what you're looking at right now is not appealing,
there's the door.
That's fine, but like, this is it. I'm not putting on anything else, And she was actually doing the same thing. She had gotten out of a relationship and was kind of like, I'm done trying with guys and like it never works, so I'm just gonna be myself and like stop trying to go after stuff. And that's the situation where we met, was where we were both immediately out of those, like days out of those situations, and both in this just kind of like, ugh.
The deflated misery club.
Yeah, and so we met in that situation, and so we got to see a picture of who each other really was, and it just worked out that we were attracted to who those other people were. You know, you don't see the best of someone when you see them at their, not worst, but they're at their most comfortable and their most like.
You're vulnerable. I mean, it's a lot of honesty in there.
Yeah.
To where you don't have to try to put up that face or try to decide whether or not somebody's trying to show off for your benefit and you're not peacocking or anything.
Right. Yeah. That worked out pretty well for us.
And I think one of the biggest reasons is I didn't think that my wife was interested in me at all. So I didn't really try because I assumed that she was already out of my league.
Right.
There was no amount of peacocking or anything that I could try to do that was going to work. So just be who I was around this person, not at her or toward her.
Yeah.
And
Trying to get the attention.
kind of worked. So like I kept trying to explain in so many words to my son to just like, be cool, man. And he had mentioned love. And I'm like, dude, don't even worry about love. I'm like, people don't know what that word means. And I was like, well, what do you think love means? He's like, like someone likes you a lot. I'm like, no, that's called likes you a lot.
Yeah.
That word is its own definition. That's not love. I was like, and that's something that you don't need to focus on. You don't need to try to attain. He may see my wife and I have a really good relationship like I did with my parents and think that like, okay, boom, marriage. That must be the goal in the 5th grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, don't even try to think about love. Think about being somebody's friend. And I kept going back to that. Because again, if they're dumb or they don't like what you like, then you're not going to have anything in common. It's just going to be a big waste of time.
Yeah.
It's not a smart investment.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the kids go through the teenage years and navigate, because I mean, you want them to be friends first. You want them to be kind to everybody, whether they feel like it's there's a future in it or not.
There's anything in it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be based on that. But they do really grow into different interests around different types of people, and they're going to be legitimately attracted to people, and it's going to be really weird to watch that happen and try to figure out how to be helpful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I don't want to police it. I don't want to be like, oh, that's not the type of person you need to be with. This is what I think you need. I don't want to do that. I want to guide them and be helpful. It's just, that's going to be a strange thing to go through.
You're going to have to let him go through his Papa Roach phase because that's what his girlfriend liked to listen to.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. My oldest already goes through that with just his friends. They, like, you know who Eiffel 65 is?
Yeah, they did Blue.
Yeah, one of the worst.
Yeah, the song I play at my house all the time that I
okay.
change from Alexa.
Exactly. They do that because my son listens to it because some friends that he has brought it up one time and he was like, I don't know, this must be music. Nope.
This is the popular jams of the day.
And so now my youngest, we were in the car, I took him to soccer practice the other day. Can you put on some Eiffel 65? And I said,
nah.
Son, no.
I cool.
don't like that music and I'm not going to put it on. He was like, why not? I was like, because it's not good music.
Because your taste in music is terrible.
So, like, music is one thing, whatever. They can listen to whatever they want in the room as long as I have the explicit filters on Alexa. But I'm not gonna do it. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Coming.
Yeah.
Somebody in a
Okay, you know.
comment to the video got mad at you because you turned their echo on today.
Yeah, whatever. Happens every time. Anyway, this model.
That's it.
That's it. I'm highly disappointed in this model.
Okay, so the feeling that you have right now with that kind of super hollow and shell of a Millennium Falcon is how I honestly felt when I pulled R2-D2 out of that Sideshow Collectibles box.
Really?
It was very thin. Parts moved and it was great. Everything was super delicate and like things broke. And I was so excited to play with it. And it was just like...
Flimsy.
Flimsy.
This thing doesn't even line up. The seams don't line up top to bottom.
Oh, there's not like some snap that's out or
I
something?
don't think so. I was pressing on it pretty good.
Oh,
It doesn't go in. The since nothing's glued on, all the flaps on the bottom fall loose. The door doesn't hinge correctly.
Boo.
50% off, so I won't feel bad about throwing it away.
No.
That's a bummer, though. I am looking forward to doing the Land Cruiser model that I have, though. I don't know that I'll start that next, but that's going to be a cool one.
Ooh, I got a model.
Yeah.
I got a model that, this is a garage kit that I had heard the term on tested, didn't know really what it meant, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole, found some stuff on Amazon. It is from some kind of property.
Mecha Bravo.
I don't know what it is.
Armored Fighter Suit RS
Yeah.
space type. Wow.
It's these like mechanized suits that it has these old timey skull cap like pilots that are inside it, and you can like open up the shell that's on the front.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see his head on the package.
It's really neat, and you get to paint it, and they're snapped together. But I would imagine that
Probably
that
better.
one mine's not 50% off at a convention, so hopefully it's a little more sturdy than that one. It got pretty great reviews.
Yeah, so this one that I did is a Revel. Mm-hmm. This brand.
Oh, that's
So
not
if
a
you're
Bandai
watching-
model.
No, if you're watching the
Oh.
video, this one,
Sorry,
this
Bandai.
brand, you're on my
On the poop list.
poop list for sure. I will not be buying any more of you. And these are the ones that are sold like at Target and stuff.
Talk to your manager.
Not happening. You're done. You're banned from no instructions.
They're donezo.
Dunzo. But the Bandai stuff is really cool.
I thought that was Bandai, and I thought it was just like a bad batch or something.
No.
Sorry about that, Bandai. Please reach out to us for possible sponsorship opportunities.
Send all the models you want to.
You gonna do some no instructions or no? Dang,
Let's do
man,
some-
what am I
let's do
even
some
doing right
instructions.
now?
That'd be good. Yeah, pros and cons.
There you go.
Let's do some.
Those things that I
You want to
invented
do
a
some
long
I
time
like to
ago.
make stuffs? Yeah, let's do a couple. We're at like 48 minutes in or something, so let's do a couple of those. But while he's pulling those up, big thanks to Patreon supporters. Could we go ahead and talk about the
Tell
thing?
them you're not a Patreon supporter any longer.
You're not a Patreon supporter any longer. It has changed.
Dun,
We
dun,
have
dun,
changed
dun.
things. So we're kind of launching this thing, which is essentially Patreon support, but not only Patreon support. It's called the Maker Alliance. And
What is the
basically-
Maker Alliance, Bob?
Let me tell you, Jarsh. Basically, where Patreon started with I like to make stuff as a way for people to help me do the videos when it was just me, literally paying for supplies and tools and stuff. The company has grown. Obviously, there's 4 or 5 people now. My wife's part-time. The company has grown, and so that support is not support as so much as, well, it's a long story, but basically I just didn't feel like we were giving anything back to those people specifically who were helping. So we created this idea of membership. I mean, we didn't come up with the idea. We co-opted this idea of membership, and we're calling it the Maker Alliance. Basically, if you join, it's a subscription kind of like club thing. If you help us or you join it through Patreon or YouTube, there's membership on YouTube.
There
if you
is
join it
indeed.
either way, you get a bunch of rewards. The rewards are content early, like videos early. You get behind the scenes stuff that's exclusive. We're doing a video every week that's exclusive.
Yep, I gave everybody a deadline.
Never goes out public. You get discount codes on products. You get free digital plans.
Yep.
These are all at different tiers. Not everybody gets all these things, but the tiers have.
There's value to them.
Yeah, there is, and that's why we did it, because I didn't feel like the people that were investing in the company were getting anything back, and so I wanted to make sure that we did that. So that's the kind of goal. So the Maker Alliance is what we are calling that group of people. They also have Discord access, and that's how we talk to them, which is how we get pros and cons.
That was
right?
good. You wrapped it all back
Yeah,
together.
I did. So if you want to join the Maker Alliance, we would love to have you, and you can go to. Oh no.
You can go to patreon.com/I like to make stuff, or you can go to YouTube and you can find the membership tab, and you can either choose to become part of. That's why it is the Maker Alliance and not just like thanks to our patrons, which has a title. So we are rebranding it so that we can plant our own flag in the alliance around the circular table.
Yes.
So it's not us and everybody is, looking at us on a stage. Is we are all equal members of the alliance, whether you want to do that on YouTube or Patreon or sending nickels or whatever. I don't know how stuff works.
Those are our 2 options right now, on YouTube or Patreon.
Yeah.
But those are both ways to join up, and all of the different tiers have different stuff, rewards associated. Go check all that out for the specifics. We will come up with a single URL that will be a place you can go, and that will funnel you out to whichever venue you choose to.
Forby's working on branding.
Yeah.
Bob said we're doing one video a week. Each one of us is doing. So it's not only just hearing from Bob, it's hearing specifically from what each one of us are doing. Anthony just made a hilarious video. The video that we just put out about the badges with the secret emblems inside, there was I like to make stuff commercial, and Anthony took all of the mess ups from that ad and made a shortcut.
Makes me look like an absolute crazy person.
Well,
I mean,
we were there,
so yeah. Maybe
it seems you didn't doctor the video at all.
I just cut out the good parts and left all the
Yeah,
bad parts.
it's just the worst of me.
He gathered up all the scraps.
It makes us all look a little crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we do it here. That's the creative process.
Yeah.
And if you want to get it on the creative process, you can become a member of the Maker Alliance.
Yes. Go do that if you're interested. And, it helps out this show. This is one of the many things that we do as a company. And it helps us continue to do this and buy terrible models at 50% off. See, the part just fell off. Anyway. All right. Let's do pros and cons. What we got? Let's do a couple. Barn doors. Not actual barn doors, but the indoor slidey ones. That's from Nick. These are all coming from the Discord, by the way, from Makist Workshop. I mean, I think barn doors are kind of cool, like slidey doors. I think they're very in vogue right now, so they're probably going to be a little overdone. There'll be that thing in another 10 years where people go like, ugh, time to replace those barn doors with some...
Or when you go to buy a house,
whatever.
The realtor's like, yeah, they had barn doors. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, you'll have to patch those holes from the track, that kind of thing. But I think it'll be like that eventually. Right now, I think they're fine.
Yeah,
and I think there's probably still ways to do them in a unique, useful way.
I was thinking about it's a rustic spin on like Japanese sliding doors, which are extremely classic and very purposeful, and kind of like a nicer version of a pocket door. So it's at the center of like a couple Venn diagrams. So I don't think that it's shag carpet au courant. Like,
Right, yeah.
I think it still has some utility, and people are milking that utility, which is good.
In Savannah, a lot of the old homes that... there's tons of old homes for rent down there. Well, I don't know anymore, but when I was in college, that's where everybody lived. Like, you would live in these old houses that some person had in their family for 50, 100 years. And so the ceilings are 12 feet tall, the doorways are 10 feet tall, and 8 feet wide. They're just all these huge spaces. And they would have these pocket doors, or sometimes they would be hung, but usually they would be pocket doors. And the doors themselves would be 7, 8 feet tall. Mm-hmm. And each one is 4 feet wide, so you would have these huge sliding doors, and I always thought that was so cool. Most of the houses, they didn't work because
The house that we were going to buy downtown that fell through had those big, huge sliding doors like that.
So I think they could be used like that to separate. If you want a big space, if you need a big dining space, you would open them up, and that was kind of the purpose of them. But then you could close off to separate rooms. We have in our kitchen dining room, we've talked about doing that, opening up a bigger doorway than a normal door size, and using sliding doors, either pocket or barn. But the barn door definitely would be easier to install than having to rip out the walls, build in the pocket track, all that stuff. Anyway, okay. Carnival rides from Zach Underwood.
Con.
Con?
As a kid, I was fine with it. And then I went to engineering school, and then I became like a certified mechanic. Hard con. Which I'm pretty sure most of those carnival operators are also hard cons.
Hard cons, yeah.
No, there are missing cotter pins. There are things that are not fastened. Like, nope, and nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't really want to go on any of them.
I don't let our kids know that the fair's in town.
Our kids have only been to one fair, and Jenny took them in Florida when I wasn't there. So I'm not really sure if I would, in the moment, be like, no, you can't ride that one, it's rattling a lot. Or I see, stuff leaking out of that one.
In my mind, I feel it's safer for them to just gorge on the fried sticks of butter and Oreos than it is to step 1 foot on the tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah. All right, what else we got? We've done some of these. Cardboard boxes versus plastic storage bins from Brian H. Huh.
Plastic storage bins.
Why?
Because I'm neat and anal like that, and it has a sense of permanence to where I can group things together, and they all have to be the same ones, or it's going to bother me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weird like that.
I could see like both having a place. I think the cardboard box thing forces me to like, that's something I have to go through because it can't stay in a cardboard box forever because some, like bugs are going to get into it, whatever. And so that means I need to go through it. But having plastic boxes that conceal is like, okay, this is stuff that I want to maintain. I want to store indefinitely. So they both have a place for me.
Sure.
But like stuff in the shop is all plastic just for utility to keep dust out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
But trading cards. Did you do trading cards growing up?
I did.
What kind?
I had, it's from Brett. I had something to add to trading cards. But I had baseball cards. My dad really liked watching the Atlanta Braves, the baseball team. And so I was into baseball. I started playing roller hockey. And so I was big into hockey for a while.
Were there roller hockey cards?
No, there was just like
ice
regular hockey cards. I was in Florida and we didn't have rinks. So
true.
we had like a sport court. And so for probably 3 years, I played roller hockey. It was super fun. But yeah, I mean, I had baseball cards. And then when the X-Men cards came out, we used to trade X-Men cards. Because those were legit. Now, I think they're expensive now.
Probably.
You get them and they had like the universe kind of purple and blue kind of background. And then you would put them all together and it made like a huge map thing.
My friend Bert has a bunch of those. I never had X-Men cards.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, yeah.
Which was probably a little before you, but like when I was in elementary school, we traded Garbage Pail Kids and Muscle Men. That was like our and Micro Machines. Micro Machines. But I had a bunch of Garbage Pail Kid cards. I had a bunch of when the first Batman movie came out. I had a bunch. I still have them. A bunch of those cards. Return of the Jedi.
I had Batman cards.
Yeah.
Yep. I loved that movie. That was the first movie that I personally owned on VHS.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow. I have a picture of my brother and my sister and myself all with Batman t-shirts in the front yard on our way to see that movie.
Nice.
I was that much of a Batman nerd.
Oh, but something else to add to baseball cards. There is an Instagram page that I found. I don't remember how. Dang it. What was it called, Anthony? Where this guy like defaces baseball cards and uses the person's name and like some of the logos on their chest and draws little silly messages and like gives them buck teeth and things. Oh, man.
Baseball card vandal or something like that?
Yeah, let's try it.
Huh.
Baseball card vandals. Look them up on Instagram. It's got these like really old 60s and or like 70s and 80s baseball cards. And there's a guy who was on like the Pittsburgh Pirates and his name has walk in it. And so he'll here. Okay. Let me see. Let's do this on the camera so people can see. So he like white out and Sharpies over stuff and it just turns the entire baseball card. And this dude says, I shake my little tush on the catwalk. And it's all taken from his name and like the logo on the jersey and the card. So it's called baseball card vandals, but like
that's funny.
It's super fun.
That's funny. Okay, well, I'm gonna need to go be dad. I said dad, sounded like dead, but I meant dad. Dad.
Dad.
So, where can people find you?
On Instagram and Twitter at Josh_makes_stuff.
All of us are at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, thanks for this. This was I know a lot of people who really enjoy the show for the dad aspect. And I know for both of us, these are uncharted waters.
Hence the name of the show.
Yeah, well, especially like girls and like we're cresting over a hill.
Yeah.
So
I think there's going to be a bunch of those. A bunch of those new like, oh, what do we do with this? Oh, what do we do with this?
So if you've had to go through this before and you have some anecdotal advice or something that could maybe be beneficial for people, get a hold of us. If you are a patron or a Maker Alliance member.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Discord, or find us on Instagram or any of the social medias, and let us know how the show is helping, or if you have something to add to this conversation.
Yeah, let us know. We'd appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Dumbledore's house is done.
Gambledore?
Gryffindor.
I'm gonna go throw this thing in the garbage can. That's super frustrating.